Hi, this is Stephen Beschloss with America, America.
And I'm Mark Jacob with the Stop the Presses newsletter.
And this is On Target. This week, we're going to focus in on a column that was written by historian Timothy Snyder, which was bluntly called in Substack concentration camp labor, and subtitled, cannot become normal, which is exactly right. Uh, Concentration camps, we've seen the sort of, entertaining name of Alligator Alcatraz for the one in Florida, which we shouldn't be benumbed by or normalize into thinking it's anything other than a concentration camp, and the first of a whole network of these camps that we're going to see around the country, specifically because this monstrous bill that just passed includes $45 billion for detention, that on top of 30 billion for ICE to do its so-called enforcement, which is to say grabbing people off the streets, rounding them up, taking them away without due process, which is what we've seen. So, AOC, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, referred to this as an ICE explosion, which feels about right to me. And what Timothy Snyder did was to raise the question of, once these camps are in place, how quickly before they represent an opportunity for Trump regime to offer companies inexpensive labor. In his kind of calculation, what we're looking at is the likelihood that companies will be asked to pay a one-time fee, and then they can take these prisoners and use them. Look, this is comparable to slave labor. We've seen that throughout our history in all kinds of terrible ways. We can surely argue that's what continues to go on in prison systems around the country. But what Timothy Snyder does, and I think it's really important, is that he makes a point of saying right away, let's not wait. Companies, businesses, CEOs should already now be willing to pledge that they will not hire these people who've been put in this position. And likewise, that, each of us, that the public can also pledge, sign petitions, pledge that they also will both not, do business with companies that would take on those workers, and at the same time would not invest in companies that take on those slave level workers.
Stephen, clearly this ICE crackdown has had an effect on the labor market, and caused a labor shortage and disrupted businesses that were otherwise working well. Like there are crops sitting rotting in the fields in California as we speak. And so one of the places where I'm really worried about this kind of slave labor kind of situation is in agriculture, where Trump has talked about, well, we can, temporarily let them work the farms, and the farmers can be in charge of them.
Right.
Well, in charge of them could very well mean that they can tell them, that they hold the ability to deport these people, so they can hold that over their heads. If you don't do what I say, if you don't work 14 hours a day, if you don't any number of things, if you don't do what I say,
Right.
you will be deported. And that is a heavy weapon to hold over someone's head, and which does create this kind of slavery situation. That's it's a harsh word, but boy, what are we seeing here?
Well, also, Snyder made the point that many of these workers may actually be hired out to the same companies they previously worked for.
Hmm.
And now would be, in essence, sort of presented as now they've been legalized by the Trump regime. That now you can hire them because we've now created this new condition that makes it possible for you to have them. And look, this is the normalization of horror, as Snyder puts it. And I think one of the reasons you and I talked about wanting to address this story now today, not wait until we see how this plays out, is because we do have a chance to get ahead of this a little bit, both in terms of our pledges, in terms of our public protests, both at the level of media speaking out, and there hasn't been enough of that yet, and also everybody who watches this, recognize this is part of this this fascistic pattern that's going on right now to take people away without due process. And we need to recognize this and act now. Not wait months until it becomes increasingly difficult to object.
Right. And, and there are a lot of horrible things going on that we could talk about, but what's happening to immigrants and, it just, and let's remember that Trump's talked about doing terrible things to the homegrowns too. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just, so
it's
we're
one
all in
step to
danger.
that.
But what's happening to immigrants in this government is imposing this culture of cruelty. This alligator, Alcatraz kind of crap, where let's turn it in, pretend it's a theme park or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
sell
it's
merchandise.
yeah, it's disgusting. It's like it's branding cruelty, and we just can't stand for it. I mean, decent Americans, and that's most of us. Unfortunately, even the polls show that this is not a popular policy at all,
Right.
and it does not have majority support. So the decent Americans, which is the majority, need to be active here, need to refuse to sign on to this horrible situation.
And look, we just have to recognize when there's this much money that's been focused on this, we shouldn't doubt that they are going to use it. And what we've seen in Florida is just the beginning. And they're talking about a network of these essentially concentration camps all across the country. So I think, again, we have the opportunity to be prepared. We have the opportunity to speak out. I think we have the opportunity to recognize this as being part and parcel of the reasons why mass protest is necessary.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you. We'll see you next time, Mark.
Right.